Unfortunately, we have an enemy. The enemy? The smoke Nazi. We're in the right, they're in the wrong. They're the enemy. We gotta stop them.
Gotta play chess in the streets, it's the art of war.
I play my enemies like a game of chess where I rest. No stress if you don't smoke less.
All right, we're talking about what you can do in public. Get this, you know, there's a city called Temple Terrace, Florida. Never heard of it, but they made news because it's the first city that has made a decree that nobody who works for the city can smoke. You have to sign a pledge that says you are not a smoker. If they find out you're lying, even if you're smoking at home, they can fire you. They say smokers drive up insurance costs, take too many sick days, too many breaks. You cannot smoke. You cannot be, that is your personal habit. You're not a smoker, are you? Oh. Were you ever?
No.
No. Well, I was for 20 years, and I enjoyed every one.
Still do it? Still
no, but I wish I could.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure. But, you know.
And it's your right as an American to do it if you want to. I mean, this is just the smoke Nazis are everywhere. I think it's almost like we should take up smoking as a political statement.
Why don't we just make smokers wear a little ashtray patch on their lapels like the Jews? I mean, it's getting to the point now.
The smoke Nazis are everywhere.
The smoke Nazi is here, and it's time to deal with it.
You know who doesn't smoke pot? Nazis. Don't be a Nazi, dude.
Andere Qualmen an der Ferse, die ihnen Fluchtweg sein sollte.
Decapitation-addicted killers are a bunch of smoke Nazis, too. What does your pain-in-the-ass roommate have in common with homicidal terror group ISIS? They're both smoke Nazis. For people fortunate enough to live in Islamic State territory, keeping your head on your shoulders can be a challenge. In fact, you can get your noggin liberated just for bumming a fag. I'm talking cigarettes. According to the Islamic State's do-it-yourself brand of Sharia law, smoking is haram. They say smoking is slow suicide, and everybody knows ISIS is only in favor of fast suicide. So if you're in ISIS-controlled Syria, where 50% of men are smokers, your habit just got a little worse for your health. Smugglers have been hiding cigarettes anywhere they can, even sticking them to pigeons. But since no combination of foreign powers seems able to take ISIS down, let's just wait till the smoke fiends rebel, and the smoke Nazis are taken down from the inside.
After German doctors became the first to identify the link between smoking and lung cancer, Nazi Germany initiated a strong anti-tobacco movement and led the first public anti-smoking campaign in modern history. Anti-tobacco movements grew in many nations from the beginning of the 20th century, but these had little success, except in Germany, where the campaign was supported by the government after the Nazis came to power. It was the most powerful anti-smoking movement in the world during the 1930s and early 1940s. The National Socialist leadership condemned smoking, and several of them openly criticized tobacco consumption. Research on smoking and its effects on health thrived under Nazi rule and was the most important of its type at that time. Adolf Hitler's personal distaste for tobacco and the Nazi reproductive policies were among the motivating factors behind their campaign against smoking, and this campaign was associated with both anti-Semitism and racism. The Nazi anti-tobacco campaign included banning smoking in trams, buses and city trains, promoting health education, limiting cigarette rations in the Wehrmacht, organizing medical lectures for soldiers, and raising the tobacco tax. The National Socialists also imposed restrictions on tobacco advertising and smoking in public spaces, and regulated restaurants and coffee houses. The anti-tobacco movement did not have much effect in the early years of the Nazi regime, and tobacco use increased between 1933 and 1939, but smoking by military personnel declined from 1939 to 1945. Even by the end of the 20th century, the anti-smoking movement in post-war Germany had not attained the influence of the Nazi anti-smoking campaign.
This report is brought to you by a grant from the Connecticut Tobacco and Health Trust Fund.
That sounds funny, doesn't it? Tobacco and health. How does that work? I'll tell you something about tobacco, and the American Indians used to do this too. Tobacco, it does something. They would use tobacco to fight off demonic entities. They would ingest a little bit of it. And so, you know, that begs the question, the reason that cigarettes are now so unhealthy for you is because, well, let me put it this way. Somebody asked me, well, how come they haven't been doing this shit all along or whatever? Well, because everything has its own time. Everything is done within its own time. In other words, everything is working on a schedule. So that, you know, if there's supposed to be a certain amount of demonic presence in the world, then you stymie it. It's kind of like eating unleavened bread. You know, yeast is a very evil thing. Okay? The Indians knew that if you ingested just a little bit of tobacco, you could kill off whatever that is. And so now, you know, that they want this demonic totalitarianism, or whatever the word is, running rampant here, they're cutting off cigarettes because the tobacco doesn't sit well with them. And so now they're teaching everybody it's bad. That way these things have more free reign. You know, another thing is too, and I'm sure you've heard this, you know, salt. They don't like salt. So what are they telling you? Cut back on the sodium. Oh, you don't want sodium, it's no good for you. No, it's a crystal. Crystals and birds are at the absolute height of their evolutionary process as far as perfection. Birds could never be any more perfect than they are right now. They are absolutely 100% perfect as far as the way they're constructed, their flight patterns. Crystals will never get any more perfect than what they are. Salt is a crystal. Crystals are used for vibratory type of stuff. And so those are the two things that in folklore agitate and bother demons or run them off. Yet what are they doing right now? They're telling you, oh yeah, don't eat too much salt. No, you don't want to smoke. And what do? They take smoking out of the bars. And why? Because alcohol, which is considered what? What do they call it? Spirits. There's a reason why. Because people act up when they're on that shit. Well, we don't want to quell that, you know, we don't want to quell that, we want to agitate that, so no smoking. See, we want these things to have, you know, absolute free reign. You know what? There's a lot of truth in all of this stuff. You just have to put it together in the right way.
just the smoke Nazis are everywhere. I think it's almost like we should take up smoking as a political statement.
Why don't we just make smokers wear a little ashtray patch on their lapels, like the Jews? Like the Jews. 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 Like the Jews.
The smoke Nazis are everywhere.
That looks bizarre. It's called Why Not Eat Insects, and it was first published in 1885. Now there are lots of reasons why people don't want to eat insects. People think they're dirty, revolting, but why not?
Entities.
TOS.
Somebody better king me. I'm the best.